Francesco Anfossi, he's Secretary General of Compagnia San Paolo. We had the chair this morning, Francesco Profumo, and can be more precise because I know that in the last 5 years you examined more than 4,000 projects, and so you've got a wide experience and you can share with us your vision today.
Okay, thanks very much for this kind introduction, and thanks to all the organizers for the work they've done during the last months to set all the things we are doing here. I have problems with my video. I don't know why it keeps switching off. However, I'll try to speak regardless. As you said, we are an institutional, broad range and broad scope foundation, and we grant around 200 million euros per year and invest around 4 billion euros worldwide. And when we set the goal to write our new strategic plan, the one guiding us in the period 2021-2024, we started to realize that the key word would be alignment. We wanted to have an impact, and to do so, we think that the best thing to do is to align with all the national and international agendas. And of course, the most relevant one is the UN 2030 agenda. And we found, not today, but 2 years ago, that the SDG paradigm was very powerful in doing that, and also to communicate to our board, to our constituency, this need. And we used our database because we committed ourselves to a data-driven approach. We are trying to be serious about that. And so we analyzed around 5,000 projects we had granted in the last 6 years. And according to the words associated with the SDGs. And we found that the most recurrent was, not surprisingly, let's say, but it's been a good news for us, the number one. But we also realized what were the less represented. And actually, climate issues and environmental issues were not so represented in our project. So we reorganized ourselves in a strategic way. Also, our organizational chart changed, and now we are organized according to 3 goals: people, planet, and culture, because culture is very relevant for us. And each goal is reached through missions. So we created a mission about environment, protecting environment, and we started learning, basically, because we realized that the first thing was to learn in something that we didn't do so far. And so we have tried to have a wide range approach, not only grants, but also capital, let's say investment, the seed capital, but also skills and talent for the system. We fund projects on education, we fund projects on research, action, of course, with a systemic approach. This is another keyword that has been repeatedly present through today's speech of all the people that gave a talk today. And I agree with that. A systematic approach, holistic approach is very relevant when we talk about climate change and climate issue. And as I mentioned before, we acknowledge the relevance of data and data-driven decisions and science. Also on the side of science communication, and being able to talk to all the people, not only the people that has the cultural instrument to understand a scientific reasoning. And so we gather data about projects and we monitor them, we analyze trends and try to impact at local level with the idea, as has already been mentioned, that the problem is global, and so we act locally, but it's not a commonplace saying that we think globally. We also acknowledge the relevance of partnerships to reinforce our program, and as also the SDGs strategy says, so we work at the institutional level, and this F20 is an example, of course, but we also created an advisory board with international experts to define strategies and policies, and we are setting one-to-one cooperations with research centers and think tanks. I would like to provide you some example of our commitment. On the investment side, we invested $40 million around in a gigafactory, which is conceived from the beginning to be carbon neutral. So not only the energy production, but also the life cycle of the batteries is taken into account. And so this gigafactory develops sustainable lithium-ion batteries. And so, of course, concerns green mobility. We are one of the ecosystem developer of the Torino, the Cities of the Future Techstars Accelerator. So a program to foster and to boost startups in the field of smart and sustainable cities. Some number about this project, 23 startups completed the program from 3 different continents, 13 POC, so proof of concepts requested by local actors, just to testify that it's not something that is happening in Torino, but has no link with the local environment. 2 startups decided to have a base in Torino after the program, and more than 150 mentors involved, and more than 10 million euros of fundraising raised by these startups. And the numbers are always increasingly, steadily, program after waves of the program. I would finish about calls for proposals, so granted money, citing 3 calls for proposals we completed. One is called Mutamenti, so changes, and was devoted to design local actions for adaptation to climate change. We selected 12 projects in the northwest of Italy area with about 400,000 potential recipients. Another call was called Natural Capital, and we had this analogy with what we do with churches and piece of arts that we pay to be restored, you know. And we think that also the natural capital should be restored. And so we devoted more than 1 million euros to fund 8 projects along these lines. And then I would cite the Green Donors call for proposal, through which we funded in the second level. So we funded crowdfunding campaigns. We provided the money for crowdfunding campaigns. So it's a way to amplify, let's say, multiply the impact of our activity. And then let me say that, of course, we, as a foundation, even if we are large, we realize that what we can do is very little if we are not connected with the efforts of all the actors. And we are very committed to support what the local municipalities, in our case, Torino and Genova in particular, but the regional Piedmont and Liguria, but again, as a national level, European level, at the global level, will be done. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for sharing that very impressive work that you're doing and also your recommendations. Thank you.